Welcome, I'm Jon Caldara, president of the Independence Institute and your devil's advocate. A little later, we're going to talk yoga. Don't worry, I'm not going to put any yoga pants on. Well, maybe I will. But first, I want to talk about urban renewal, tax increment financing, and basically cronyism that your government is doing, mostly on the local level. Doug Clark, former mayor of the city of Littleton, thanks for joining us.
Certainly, my pleasure.
Now, I grew up in Littleton, right? So Littleton is home. I remember Littleton. I loved Littleton.
It's a great little.
Very different now, but it was great. The police station on Main Street used to be the library. I mean, it was terrific.
Yeah.
You remember what was Northwoods Inn?
Yes.
Paul Bunyan-sized meals.
Yes.
Had a sign of Paul Bunyan. What I loved about it as a kid is that they gave you all these peanuts, and you could shell the peanuts and throw them
on the floor.
Throw them on the floor. Of course, as a kid, what are you doing? You're trying to get in everybody else's soup across. It was great. All right. There was an area of town that was a mobile home park, which
among other things.
Yes. And the city decided, we don't want that. We want something else.
Yes.
What is the something else that they wanted?
Well, at the time, what they wanted was a mixed use with 24-hour vitality, is what the plan said. So they wanted.
You have to put that in English here for me. They wanted mixed use with 24-hour vitality.
They wanted people, they wanted it to be an activity center close to downtown that people would be drawn to, and things would be going on all hours of the day and night.
And the city wanted this. The city council wanted this.
The city council wanted this.
This is not, I mean, first of all, I got to say, why is this city business to decide what something should be? You know, I would like a puppy farm there, but they're not going to put one there.
Well, to defend them a little bit, is there were some problems with the Riverfront area. There was flooding that was happening down the Platte. It was within a 100-year floodplain. There was water that went down what was called Low Street. It's now Little's Creek. So there were some flooding issues associated around that. They had some businesses that they thought, and here's where you get in the dangerous part, that they thought weren't as good as they could be.
That's nice.
Yes.
We like your business, but we think you can be better, and we're going to help you.
Right, so we think somebody else can be better, which will bring us more revenue.
And there we go, more revenue.
Yes.
So they came up with this idea called the Riverfront project.
Yes.
And the city created what's known as a Urban Renewal Authority.
In 1980. Yes.
An Urban Renewal Authority is basically a corporation, an entity that is outside of the Taxpayer Bill of Rights, and they actually have, if I got this right, the power to condemn and take property.
Yes. They also have the power to set land use. They have the power to set land design within the urban renewal area. They're actually a very powerful organization. And the board is appointed by the council. It is not an elected board.
Hang on, I need to figure this one out.
Okay.
So the council forms this entity.
Yes.
The entity has the ability to take people's private property. It has the power to change zoning and how it's going to be used. It has the power to basically issue debt and change things around. And there is no direct accountability on that board. It's all appointed. Nobody is elected to this board.
No.
You were put on this board, were you not?
I was on this board for a couple years, 98 through 99.
Okay. So how did this great urban development project work out?
Well, this started, as I said, the plan was to fix the flooding issues, and those were actually taken care of by all different governmental agencies, Army Corps of Engineers, Urban Drainage and Flood Control, CDOT, and various other agencies actually came in and took care of the flooding problem. The Urban Renewal Authority was supposed to create an area of mixed use, residential, commercial office, and retail that they wanted to have what they call the 24-hour vitality. So they condemned every single...
Colfax Avenue has 24-hour vitality,
That's true. I guess you have to be careful what you wish for. So they condemned every single piece of property on the 32 acres, every single piece of private property, sold it to Ryder Corporation. Ryder Corporation built a shopping center called the Riverfront Festival Center that opened in November of '85 and closed in '89 and sat vacant for 9 years.
City forms an organization. The organization takes acres and acres of private property,
Turns around and sells it to another private entity.
Sells it all to a big corporation.
Yes.
Ryder goes around, puts in hotels and other things all around the country. This
Yes.
is a big outfit that specializes in this kind of takeover.
Yes.
Puts together this wonderful project that fails.
It fails. And so Ryder, the banks take it back from Ryder. Ryder loses $20 million. The bonds that were issued by the Riverfront Authority to pay for the property that they condemned were supposed to be paid by the increased tax revenue that would be generated by the project. That's called tax increment financing. Since the mall closed, there was no incremental tax. In fact, there was no tax at all. So they defaulted on the payments to the bonds that were held by investors. The city, in addition, loaned the Urban Renewal Authority money and sold them property on a promissory note that they were never repaid for. And the city considered that debt to be worth $9 million of defaulted debt at the end of 2009. So the city lost $9 million, Ryder lost $20 million, and the bondholders lost somewhere around $9 million on it. And the city, I said the city lost $9
million for something that was never, ever put to a public vote.
No, never put to a public vote.
Never put to a public vote.
Correct.
And
managed by an unelected board.
And managed
that's in an entity that's legally separate from the city.
And the reason this is important to talk about is this is not a Littleton phenomenon.
No, it isn't.
This is a phenomenon that is being used and abused throughout the state. This thing called tax increment financing,
yes.
which is basically a corporate welfare idea, which is, hey, I tell you what, we're going to you can keep your taxes for a while as this is building up. You know, we see this all over the place. You know, in Aurora, the Gaylord project is an obscene
yes.
example of exactly what this is. And taxpayers have no choice because the city creates something that's at arm's length. So this is not
yes.
a Littleton issue. It's happening in Westminster. They're building a mall there.
It's all across the state of Colorado.
Why is it so popular? Why is this scam so? Because it has everything. It's got crony capitalism. It's got tax increment financing. It's got stealing people's private property and giving it to large corporations. It's got it all. I mean, this is ugly on every level.
It does. Urban renewal law was created to fix slum and blight, and when the Colorado legislature first created it in the 50s. What the cities found out after a while is that they could use it for what they considered to be economic development, and now it's almost completely divorced from any concept of clearing slum and blight, even though that's how the law is written. That's why there's condemnation in there. And they have consultants that go around the state that tell the cities that you can use this as a way of getting free money to create new and vibrant things in your city with no risk to you. So it is a mechanism that the cities use to take taxes from other taxing entities, and in Littleton, this is the school district, South Suburban Parks and Rec, Urban Drainage and Flood Control, and the county.
Because that part is sometimes a mystery. So, and this is what's happening in Westminster,
yes.
is that there's going to be a tax increment financing, which means you private corporation, you're going to get these sweetheart tax deals, and you're not going to be paying property taxes. You're not going to be paying these things.
Well, the corporations still pay the property tax. It's just that it doesn't go to the taxing entities that it would normally go to. It gets siphoned off a portion of it gets siphoned off to the Urban Renewal Authority, who then turns around and gives it back to the corporations or uses it to build things.
All right. So this is such evil genius. It's incredible. So we're going to take this. You're going to pay the taxes. We're going to give the tax money back to you, and those property taxes that otherwise would have gone to the county or to the school district,
yes.
they're out of you get nothing.
Yes.
And we, the city of Westminster in this case, or Littleton in your case, we get a new plaything. That
yes.
new plaything might fail, which case it cost the city, the taxpayers, $9 million as part of their backroom deals.
It did on Riverfront.
Yeah.
And here's the deal is, if something was going to develop on that piece of property, the market would have done it. If it hasn't developed, that's because the bankers who actually risk the money and the developers who risk their skin in the game have both decided that it's too risky of an investment to do. So what happens is government, through urban renewal authorities, comes in and says, we're going to remove part of that risk because we think we're smarter than the market is. So we're going to force a development to happen on this piece of property that would not normally happen through market forces. And we're going to put a group of people, the Urban Renewal Authority board, in charge of it that have no experience with retail or development or anything else. So it's almost guaranteed not to be successful. If it's successful, it's probably because they luck into it.
And it's done by people who actually have no skin in the game. They see the dollar sign.
Yes.
So the city councilmen go,
Yes.
well, we want pretty things in Littleton, don't we? And here's a way that these guys are going to have the risk, and we're going to have pretty things. And it turns out the pretty things failed, and the city lost $9 million, and nobody lost their job. Nobody was recalled. Nobody went to prison over it.
That's exactly right.
But $9 million was taken from the voters. Let me bring it to today.
Okay.
You're part of an effort to try to reform this practice, at least in Littleton.
Yes.
And citizens have put together a proposal to say, if you want to do this, you're going to have to go to a vote of the people.
Yes.
This is called Initiative or Ballot Issue 300.
300.
And this is going to be on the ballot in the city of Littleton when?
It'll be on a special election that concludes on March 3rd. It's a mail ballot only election.
So only men can vote, and that's a good thing. So 300, if you're in Littleton, you need to listen to this because you have until March
3rd to turn your
to
ballot
get
in.
your ballot in.
Yes.
What does Proposition 300 or Ballot Initiative 300 do?
What it says is the citizens have to ratify any urban renewal plan or modification to the plan if that plan contains condemnation or tax increment financing. And condemnation is where the Urban Renewal Authority would take property from one private property owner and give it to another, which it has to do in order to get taxes to pay for it. And tax increment financing is where they take the taxes of other taxing entities. Every taxing entity that collects property tax in the urban renewal area, and they use that to finance the property that they have condemned or their other operations.
Basically, all you're saying is you can do all this stuff, but you better ask us before you do it.
Yes, you have to present a good enough plan that the citizens will buy into the risk and the police power, basically, that allows you to take the property and the taxes.
Take property from poor guys and give it to some rich corporation.
And take taxes, because when they take the taxes that normally go to these other taxing entities like the schools and the parks, don't have the revenue that they normally have, and that results in them either not being able to fund the services they were going to or coming back for a tax increase.
Already, this simple thing to say, ask first before you condemn property and put us into debt and do tax increment financing, ask first. Your opponents have already raised tens of thousands of dollars. These are the retailers and the businesses who are going to make money off of this stuff.
Yes.
And you're just a bunch of stupid citizens trying to do something.
Thank you for the compliment.
Yeah, you're not on the winning side of this. You're not on the winning side of 300 as far as the corporate money. How are you going to win this?
It's the money. I believe that the voters are smart enough that when you give them information that they can make the correct decision, regardless of how much noise is created by being inundated by money from outside interests.
People in Littleton, where should they go to learn this information? Because this is important. Where do they want to learn about this initiative, and I strongly suggest they do.
We have a website called yourlittletonyourvote.com.
yourlittletonyourvote.com.
Which you can go to, that has a number of information, and there will also be flyers that'll be mailed and delivered.
Get those ballots in.
Yes.
Thank you so much. What an issue. Stay tuned.